In our headlines on this Wednesday afternoon, January 11th, the World Bank slashes its global growth outlook for this year to 1.7% from 3%, citing inflation, interest rates and invasion of Ukraine. And in Korea, employment expands last year to mark its greatest growth in more than 20 years, with an on-year rise of some 816,000 jobs. The head of the Democratic Party of Korea, Lee Jae-myung, returns home late Tuesday following some 12 hours of questioning of allegations of bribery. The global economy may be hovering on the brink of a recession. Now, this is according to the World Bank, in line with the dramatic cut of its global growth projection for this year. Our Lee Jae starts us off.
According to the World Bank's latest Global Economic Prospects report released Tuesday, the global growth outlook for 2023 has been lowered to 1.7%, down from its previous forecast of 3% back in June 2022. The report cited a number of factors that led to the gloomier forecast for this year. This includes elevated inflation, higher interest rates, reduced investment, and disruptions caused by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The report added that given the fragile economic conditions, any new adverse developments, including higher than expected inflation, abrupt rises in interest rates, a resurgence of the COVID-19 pandemic, or escalating geopolitical tensions, could push the global economy into recession. Such an outcome would mark the first time in more than 80 years that two global recessions have occurred within the same decade. The World Bank also revised down its growth forecast for a number of major economies around the world. This includes the U.S., where the bank slashed its growth estimate by 1.9 percentage points to 0.5% in 2023, the weakest performance outside of official recessions since 1970. With the Eurozone economy forecast to stagnate in 2023, the growth outlook there was revised down by 1.9 percentage points. And the gloomy outlook may be here for the long run, as the World Bank predicts that the global economy is projected to grow 2.7% in 2024, lower than the previous estimate of 3%. Lee Jae, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, on the local labour front, there was a remarkable expansion in employment last year, in line with efforts to embrace a new normal amid the prolonged presence of the pandemic. Our Shin Ha-young has the actual numbers.
The number of people employed in South Korea last year rose by the most for any since 2000. Data released by Statistics Korea on Wednesday shows that almost 28.1 million people were in employment in 2022, with an on-year increase of 816,000, which is almost 3 times the government's December estimate. That's slightly below the record figure from the year 2000, which saw the number of workers increase by some 882,000. While all age groups above 15 contributed to the growth, people aged 60 and over accounted for more than half of the total on-year gain, adding 452,000 jobs. For the same period, the employment rate among those aged 15 and above came to 62.1%, up 1.6 percentage points from the year before, recording an all-time high since 1963 when the data was first compiled. Last year's results came after South Korea eased COVID-19 restrictions.
In 2022, an increase of activity due to a recovery in daily life, a rise in exports, as well as the demand for care services led to the overall job growth.
By industry, the healthcare sector added the most jobs, followed by manufacturing, as well as restaurants and accommodation. On the other hand, those in wholesale and retail, as well as finance and insurance, saw an on-year decrease. Meanwhile, Statistics Korea forecasts 2023's employment rate to be similar to last year. However, it expected the job growth to slow down, citing a slower economy. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
Also, on the job market, the corporate arena here is open to the idea of hiring older workers. A survey of some 450 companies by the Federation of Korean Industries has found that most businesses are open to the option of hiring workers in their 40s or older. Now, close to 70% shared plans to hire workers aged 40 and above this year, while 90% claimed they had already done so. Among the reasons for this preference of older workers by the firm surveyed were skills and a strong work ethic. The head of the main opposition party, Lee Jae-myung, was questioned, that is, for some 12 hours by prosecutors Tuesday amid allegations of malfeasance while in office as mayor of Seongnam City. Our Han Sung-woo has details.
After 12 hours of questioning, Democratic Party of Korea chief Lee Jae-myung left the Seongnam branch of the Suwon District Prosecutor's Office late at night on Tuesday, saying it's obvious that he will be indicted.
In the end, the truth will be revealed in court. Of the various materials presented by the prosecutors today, I don't think any of them were convincing.
The party leader had reportedly submitted a 10-page written statement and kept his speech to a minimum in front of prosecutors. He had some strong words to say against the prosecution earlier on Tuesday morning, though, accusing them of a judiciary coup d'etat by, quote, digging up cases that have already been cleared by years of investigation. It marked the first time in the nation's constitutional history that the sitting head of a main opposition party had been summoned by prosecutors, sparking yet another heated clash in parliament.
So in the face of the prosecution's brutal blade against our leader, we DP lawmakers have come here together to define the questioning as a political retaliatory investigation against not Lee Jae-myung the individual, but Lee Jae-myung the opposition leader and rival of the president.
Judiciary matters should remain judiciary and not be viewed through the lens of party politics or numbers. We hope the prosecution can uncover the truth.
Lee is currently facing allegations that he received bribes from corporations via Seongnam Football Club in the mid-2010s while serving as mayor of Seongnam City. He's been accused of doing administrative favors and providing preferential treatment for those firms in return, including relaxing architecture and development regulations. Han Sung-woo, Arirang News.
Beijing has suspended short-term visas for South Korean travelers into its borders. The move comes in response to Seoul's current COVID-19-related guidelines for Chinese travelers into the country. Our foreign affairs correspondent Choi Min-jung has the latest.
China has decided to suspend its short-term visa services for South Koreans starting Tuesday. This comes in retaliation for Seoul's strengthened antivirus measures for inbound travelers from China. The Chinese embassy in Seoul made the announcement via WeChat, citing orders from Beijing. South Korean nationals can no longer get short-term visas for traveling or personal matters. The embassy also stated that the measure will be adjusted depending on whether Seoul decides to withdraw what Beijing calls discriminatory entry restrictions against China. Soon after the announcement, South Korea's foreign ministry expressed regret over China's decision.
We have already strengthened measures for entrance from China based on scientific and objective reasoning. We have communicated our stance to China through diplomatic channels, and communication between South Korea and China will continue regarding this matter.
As the spokesman said, South Korea's Foreign Minister Park Jin had already explained to his new Chinese counterpart Jin Gang that the stronger measures were imposed based on scientific grounds. This was discussed during their first talks over the phone on Monday night, where Park offered congratulations on Chin's recent inauguration. However, the new Chinese foreign minister expressed concerns, saying that he hopes that South Korea would uphold an objective and scientific attitude. South Korea ramped up its antivirus measures for entrance from China after seeing a jump in imported cases from the country. Under the current rules, people coming from China are required to show a negative COVID-19 test result before boarding the plane and take a PCR test upon arrival. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
And in related news, the United Nations has voiced concern about China's suspension of short-term visas to travelers from South Korea as well as neighboring Japan. In a briefing on Tuesday, the UN called on its members to abide by World Health Organization guidelines with regard to COVID-19 prevention efforts, stressing the importance of border screenings based on scientific grounds. Pundits believe the remarks are aimed at China and its latest response to measures taken by its neighbors as it grapples with an alarming rebound in COVID-19 infections. At the top office, President Yoon Suk-yeol has reaffirmed his intentions to better support the country's science and telecommunications sector. Our Kim Do-yeon reports.
On Tuesday, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol promised strong support for the nation's science, technology, and communication sectors.
누리호 3차 발사, 우주항공청 출범을 통해 우주 경제 시대를 열기 위한 우주산업 생태계를 조성해 나가겠습니다. 인공지능 중심의 디지털 기술을 일상화해서 국민 누구나 디지털을 마음껏 활용할 수 있도록 하겠습니다. 인류의 보편적 가치를 기반으로 디지털 격차를 해소하기 위해 국제사회와도 적극 연대해 나갈 것입니다.
He also promised to foster talent in future industries while supporting respect for freedom and creativity and for scientists as they continue to take on new challenges and innovate. This pledge came as he attended a New Year's greeting event for the nation's leaders in science, technology, and communications. Among the 500 or so attendees were the president of the Korean Federation of Science and Technology Societies, Yoo-il, and the president of the Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, Lee Jae-myung. Private sector leaders in tech also came, including the co-vice chairman of Samsung Electronics, Han Jong-hee, and the CEO of Coupang, Kang Han-seung. According to the presidential office, this is the first visit to the annual event by a president in 7 years. And his decision to do so, is said, reflects his drive to foster the nation's science and technology sector. In fact, he believes it's crucial for the nation to focus on advancements in science and technology.
자랑스러운 과학기술인 정보방송통신인 여러분, 지금은 과학기술과 디지털 경쟁력이 국가의 미래뿐 아니라 우리의 생존과도 직결되는 시대입니다. 글로벌 기술 패권 경쟁이 심화하면서 첨단 과학기술을 중심으로 경제, 외교안보, 통상 등의 분야가 하나의 패키지로 움직이고 있습니다.
Leaders from these industries also had a chance to speak about their aims for 2023. They agreed that these are difficult times for the world, but science and technology can help guide the nation through them. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, come Saturday, President Yoon will head to Abu Dhabi in his first overseas trip for the year. Commercial diplomacy is the focus of his agenda there, which will be followed by a visit to the Swiss town of Davos to partake in the World Economic Forum next week. My colleague Moon Gon-young has more.
The economic diplomacy aspect of President Yoon's overseas tour this time can be summarized into 3 key words: UAE, attracting investment, and global solidarity.
President Yoon Suk-yeol's first foreign tour of the new year will take him to the United Arab Emirates and Switzerland from this weekend to next. And at the heart of it is summit-level economic diplomacy. Taking off on Saturday, Mr. Yoon's first stop will be Abu Dhabi for his first state visit as president, and a first to the West Asian country by a South Korean leader at the invitation of President Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. There, he'll visit South Korean troops at the AK unit, some 130 combat soldiers there to train UAE Special Forces, and the Baraka nuclear power plant, Korea's first overseas nuclear power plant construction project that kicked off under a $20 billion contract won in 2009.
We plan to significantly strengthen South Korea-UAE strategic cooperation in nuclear power, energy, investment, and the defense industry. Not only that, by accompanying an economic delegation of some 100 South Korean businesses, we'll provide all the necessary support to help our firms make entry into the UAE market.
On the 17th, President Yoon flies to Zurich for a meeting with Koreans living in Switzerland, then to Davos clusters the next day for a meeting with the CEOs of major multinationals and to promote South Korea's bid to host the 2030 World Expo. And on the 19th, Yoon will deliver a special address at the annual meeting of the World Economic Forum, which opens this year under the theme Cooperation in a Fragmented World. The president will wrap up his 8-day two-nation tour with a visit to the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Zurich, a public research university which specializes in science and technology. As highlighted by the president himself, President Yoon plans to keep a salesman cap on more than anything else during this trip and on those planned for the rest of the year. Now, senior officials here at the presidential office say we can anticipate large-scale contracts and deals, especially in the defense industry, this tour around. 문건영, Arirang News.
Over in the U.S., the country last year underwent extreme weather events that killed at least 474 people and resulted in some $165 billion worth of damage. According to a report by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration on Tuesday, 2022 was the third most expensive year on record amid the cost of weather-related disasters across the U.S. According to the agency, there were 18 extreme weather events that included hurricanes, tornadoes, wildfires, drought and flooding, with each causing at least $1 billion in damage. The 2023 Golden Globe Awards opened on Tuesday local time in Beverly Hills, California. Director Park Chan-wook's decision to leave had been shortlisted for Best Picture in the non-English language category, but the honor went to Argentina 1985. Now, this is the fourth year of a nomination for Korea at this event, with the country witnessing a win in each of the previous 3 years. In 2020, director Bong Joon-ho's Parasite brought home the trophy for the best non-English language film at the 77th edition of the awards. On the entertainment front as well, Blackpink will be one of the 3 headline acts at this year's Coachella Valley Music and Arts Festival. Organizers on Tuesday unveiled this year's lineup, which also features R&B icon Frank Ocean and Puerto Rican superstar Bad Bunny as fellow headliners. Blackpink previously performed at Coachella in the year 2019, but this year, according to the Los Angeles Times, the group will become not only the first K-pop group, but also the first Asian act to headline the festival. Coachella will take place at the Empire Polo Club in Indio, California, across 2 weekends in April, with Blackpink, the Saturday night headliner, on April 15th and the 22nd. Robotic systems are evolving to allow for robots better modeled on human biology. Our Yoon tells us what this means.
This robot hears music and starts drumming to the beat. Compared to previous robots that could drum, this robot has joints similar to the human skeletal structure, which allows it to drum at a very high speed.
This robot uses artificial intelligence that can extract drum components from a song and can analyze a drum instrument part.
Next to a person moving their arms, the humanoid robot can replicate the movement. And it's not just the robot. A digital human in the metaverse can also make parallel movements. With special glasses, an image of a person is overlapped with the robot in an augmented reality platform. This is the first time that a person-like humanoid robot is linked to a digital human, which is then overlaid with a human image.
It's possible to have someone I know augmented by this humanoid, so that even if that person is not actually here, I can communicate in an indoor space, as if the person is right next to me.
Now this is a wearable robot that assists with walking. It is much lighter than physical therapy robots that are being used in hospitals. Weighing just under 3 kilograms, it allows the elderly to move around at home. As a wearable robot, it assists any weakened joints and muscles that are used for walking.
There is a small motor attached to the robot that creates energy similar to human muscles. This provides roughly 30% of the muscle strength required for walking.
A whole range of technology has helped robots evolve over the years. And now, not only are their movements becoming smoother and more human-like, but in some aspects they already have more advanced motions. Yoon, Arirang News.
Let's take a look at what's going on in the world now. In California, a mass evacuation order has been issued amid floods and mudslides caused by ongoing storms in the U.S. state. As of Tuesday morning local time, roughly 49,000 people are under the evacuation order, while another 50,000 have been issued an evacuation warning. Meanwhile, more than 220,000 homes and businesses have been left without power. This comes as torrential rain has battered California beginning late December. The death toll from the adverse weather has risen to at least 17 people since then. According to forecasters, the storms are being caused by a combination of atmospheric rivers and bomb cyclones, known to hold and move large volumes of water from the Pacific Ocean. Focusing on the U.S. now, as 10 classified documents connected to President Joe Biden have been found at a private office in Washington, which was formerly used by Biden. According to lawyers for the president on Monday, the documents were discovered by aides to the U.S. leader in November. The secret papers are related to Biden's time as a vice president before 2017. They added that the White House is cooperating with the National Archives and Department of Justice. The discovery could cause legal issues, as records of federal office holders must be handed over to the National Archives and Records Administration at the end of their service. It is believed the documents contain intel on Ukraine, Iran, and the UK. The last 8 years have been the planet's warmest on record. This is according to data released by the European Union's Copernicus Climate Change Service on Tuesday. Among these 8 years, 2022 was fifth warmest, witnessing extreme weather events such as widespread flooding in Pakistan and Australia and record-breaking heat waves in Europe. According to the climate monitoring body, the annual average temperature last year reached close to 1.2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. It's the 8th straight year that temperatures exceeded pre-industrial levels by at least 1 degree. And finally, Prince Harry's autobiography, Spare, has broken sales records in the UK, becoming the fastest-selling non-fiction book ever. Sales figures on its release on Monday surpassed 400,000 copies, spanning hardback, ebook, and audio formats. Its release came amid a series of TV interviews and leaks, including the accidental release of a Spanish version of the book last Thursday. The book covers intimate details about Harry's life in the royal family, including the death of his mother, Princess Diana, his drug use, and time as a soldier in Afghanistan. The only books to have sold more on their release date in the UK are those from the Harry Potter series. Matthew Ashley, Arirang News.
Hello, I'm Lee Jae-myung with the latest weather updates. Unusual warmth seems to be in no hurry to leave. After a chilly start, temperatures rose fast to feel rather more like early spring this afternoon across Korea. Central parts of the country are having highs that are similar to yesterday, while it's much warmer in southern provinces. But it is so unfortunate that those of us in the west are being trapped with high levels of ultra-fine dust again. Sunny skies are blurred with haze and dust today. Meanwhile, those in the rest of the country are having decent air quality under bright skies, so enjoy the pleasant day today. Especially those in the East Coast and Jeju are having a plenty of warmth this afternoon. And the unusual stretch of warm weather hit its peak tomorrow, with possibly record-breaking warmth for mid-January in many parts. That nationwide rain or snow on Friday and the weekend will bring winter weather back to the country next week. With that in mind, here's a look at the weather conditions around the globe.
Well, those are the headlines at this hour, but do stay with us for our panel session coming up right after this break. Thank you for now.